Hello everybody, welcome back live to Puebla in Mexico, ready for round 12 of the World Touring Car Championship, the second flyaway race weekend in the 2006 series. After Curitiba in Brazil a month ago, we are in Central America in Mexico, and we are getting ready for the start of race 2 after a fascinating first race. Incident, as we had expected, and accident, as we had rather feared. Rob Huff, still no news, I'm afraid, on him. He was involved in an accident, for those of you who haven't seen him, that saw him slammed driver's side first into the retaining wall on the outside of the oval corner, the final corner of the track, and he was heavily winded there. Took him a few minutes to get out of the car, and he has been helicoptered off to hospital. After race 1, James Thompson is now our championship leader from the no-scoring Andy Prio. Gabriele Tarquini closes on him in third position, and in fact everybody closes apart from Ivan Muller, who didn't score a point here. Andy Prio finished way down the order in 19th or 20th position in race 1, a long way from the 8th place that he needed to take the pole for race 2, with a maximum possible allowance of 80 kilos of success ballast on board. David Leslie was always going to be a tough job, and here on the slippy slidey rallycross circuit in Mexico, it seems that the RBM BMW, for the first time I think that I can really remember, looked utterly unable to cope with the conditions.
Yeah, they really were struggling. The fact that they had 80 kilos didn't help them at all, but when you're watching that car in the back of the pictures, it really was sliding around all over the place, and Andy was trying his hardest to hang on to it rather than to drive around the circuit and get the best out of it, and obviously had problems, even more problems towards the end of the race, and stepped themselves all the way down to 20th place. But here we have Morbidelli, who's now on the front row because of his finishing in 7th place.
So Gianni Morbidelli for Alfa Romeo, front row starter here. And of course the 38-year-old Italian, very experienced, well-known name worldwide. Starting with Alfa Romeo this year, he was expecting to battle for the championship, but it's been a tough graduation to the N Technology team. He only scored 2 points in the first 8 races. Brazil might be the start at the Renaissance, though. He took 2nd place in race 2. Well, he's pretty philosophical about the way that these things work. He said, in my career I've had a lot of up and downs. I've probably had more downs than ups, but I'm mature enough to face the problems that I've had this year, as I had to face problems in the past, so I'm not afraid of taking these things on the chin. One of the technical reasons for Morbidelli's difficulties, perhaps, is that the Alfa Romeo is already a year-old car developed for Michelin tyres. With Yokohama, it's a little difficult, particularly against brand new BMWs and Seats. I think the performance level of the cars will remain the same, whatever the track is, but when you throw in unknown factors like a new track or variable weather conditions, then maybe the playing field gets a little more level and we can close the gap a bit to our rivals. Well, Morbidelli, of course, well known from his Formula 1 career. He raced in 67 Grand Prix. The first was in Brazil in 1990 for Scuderia Italia. He drove for Minardi, Arrows and Sauber, as well as Ferrari. So, of course, I had a Ferrari to drive in Formula 1, and every Italian has this huge passion for Ferrari, but the car that I enjoyed most of all was the 1994 Arrows, Alan Jenkins' design. That car was made for me, it was made to measure, and is my favourite Formula 1 car. Well, he only had 1 Formula 1 podium. World Touring Cars hopefully will offer him a little more. I just love this. Driving is my passion, and I hope to be able to do it as long as I can. Well, in touring cars and GTs, he could have another couple of decades in him if he's lucky. And he will start this race from the outside of the front row of the grid. As with every World Touring Car Championship event, the top 8 in the first race have their positions reversed, their finishing positions for race 2. From 9th on down, you finish where you started, but that means that Dirk Muller, who was 6th in race 1, will now be in 3rd place on the grid, and the man who was 8th in front of him, Ricard Rydell, starts from pole position. And David Leslie, so many times times this year we've seen, well, Andy Priaulx particularly use that 8th to 1st conversion to get himself into a winning position for race 2, but this time he needed, well, at least another 8 positions above where he finished, even to be within sniffing distance of the top 8.
That's right, he simply wasn't anywhere near, but if you can finish 8th you have a real good chance, and that's what Rydell did. So he's sitting on the front row, and this man James Thompson, now 1 point in the lead of the championship, is sitting on the 2nd row with the opportunity for a very good start. Now beside him is the very fast starting BMW of Dirk Muller, and Dirk's got a very good opportunity to try and now get into the first corner in first position, with the 3 front wheel drive cars fighting over that position, that being Thompson and Rydell, both in Sears and Morbidelli in the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, 3 of the top 4 are definite title contenders. Pole sitter Rydell, Dirk Muller, as you say, starting 3rd, Thompson in 4th. Coronel looks to be a shoe-in at the moment, unless there's a major disaster for GR Asia or for Tom physically himself before the end of the season for the Independence Trophy. They have been not only consistently the fastest, but consistently there, whereas a lot of the other independents have been either not on the pace all the time or have not done all the races. But Coronel 4th in race 1, just overshadowed by this young man, Ryan Sharp, 3rd in race 1 in an independent Honda, not even a factory-built car. It's built and prepared by Yas Motorsport in Italy. The Seat of the GR Asia team, they built a factory Seat in the Seat factory. This is something that the Yas Motorsport team have essentially created themselves, and there are rumours still continuing to get stronger that Honda may produce a team next year, but Honda already have North American racing commitments. They also have Formula 1 to be getting along with, so I wonder whether we will see a factory Honda team. I have to say, they really just need to put a little bit more effort and perhaps a bit of finance into Yas Motorsport, and we could have a car that's always in contention for a top 3 position.
That's right, Yas Motorsport have had a connection, a loose connection with Honda for some years now. I can remember them many years ago building cars for Honda, and they've sort of still kept that connection there, but they've always been able to have to do it on their own. They've had to find their own budgets, and they got a little bit of help, but very little from Honda as such. But you have to say they've shown here this weekend in Mexico just how well they can actually go, how well the car goes, and how well the drivers are going as well, because Ryan Sharp really has shot forward. Up to now his teammate Cortals has been very much the sort of man a little bit ahead and doing very well, having the odd good result, but Ryan Sharp was 2nd in the championship, it still is 2nd in the championship, and has scored some fantastic points this weekend. Unfortunately, with Tom Cornell being some 25 points ahead before the weekend started, while he's eaten into it by 2 points. It's not very much when you've got that big a lead. I think that lead that Tom has gained at the beginning of the season is the one that's going to carry him through, even if Ryan Sharp continues to beat him.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's going to have to be a nibbling away process, but for Ryan, enormous boost to his confidence to be in that position at all. Well, the first race winner, Salvatore Tavano, in 8th place on the grid, alongside him just to his right and slightly ahead, 7th position for Augusto Farfus, and Farfus, another one of the championship contenders, scored very strongly in the first race. Certainly in years gone by you would have seen Monica Sips cycling him to the front as the only man who has a realistic title shot for the N-Technology Alfa Romeo team. It's not Auto Delta, the factory Alfa team, anymore. It is N-Technology. They are an independent company, although they built Alfa Romeo's racers for touring car racing for many years. Now they are doing it effectively as an independent company, although they are not an Independence Trophy competitor. Cars on the grid prior to round 12 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship 2006. Live pictures on Eurosport from Puebla in Mexico. Welcome to our viewers across Europe, across the world, wherever you're watching us. Hello to those of you who are staying up late into the night or early into the morning or whatever it is. I can't quite work out all these different time zones in Australia. Hello to you. Hope you're enjoying this. These guys may not have the power of the Aussie V8 supercars, but I think they have at least some of the spunk that you might imagine from a top touring car guy. Ivan Muller, well, there's a man who's got a lot of weight on his shoulders, not least in his car as well. A lot to contemplate for the Frenchman. Points leader going to Brazil. shocking weekend there, 0 point there, and he finds himself in 5th place and falling rapidly in the championship as well. The successes of, well, the last couple of races before the flyaways are now a fading memory. David Leslie, it's a very difficult situation when you are in such a desperately close battle, because any blink and suddenly you find yourself really slipping down the order. I mean, 5 points here can mean a 4 or 5 position change in the championship.
It's all about scoring points. It's about scoring points on a regular basis. Now, we know that Ivan scored very well at the beginning of the season for the first couple of races, and that really shot him up to the front. But unfortunately, since then he's struggled a bit. Once they started adding weight to that car, the weight that they do add, both for success and for championship position, then all of a sudden, that made life a little bit more difficult for him, and he went not scoring on a regular basis means that he's slipping down in championship, you said, Martin. But this is the reason we've got the extra weight now. The circuit, we were telling you before, has been breaking up, and during the race it breaks up really badly. They've been out with all the brushes to try and clean it up. They've got a massive big hoover there that are out trying to clean it up, and they're taking that little bit longer to get the circuit clean before they can actually let these cars back out there and start another race.
So the spectators sweltering in the afternoon sunshine. Fine afternoon it is for motor racing here as well at Puebla in Mexico, trying to make sure that the race surface is as good as it can be for this 12th race in the World Touring Car Championship. And we'll be back as we continue our build up to the race. Stay with us. Time to take a quick cool down around the circuit at Puebla, and the crowds being their attention being drawn to the grid in a couple of moments as we get ready for round 12 of the World Touring Car Championship. Round 11 saw a new winner in the form of Salvatore Tavano. Now, Andy Preo had a dreadful first race, and he is currently lining up not where he finished in 20th place, but last on the grid. There is Bart Mampai, the team boss of RBM. Racing Bart Mampai that runs the BMW Team UK 320 SI for Preo, and the leaf blowers blowing cold air, or air, full stop, through the radiators to try and keep the temperature right down in the cooling system. These are designed to work at speed, not sitting stationary in high temperatures. Now, we don't know quite why, David. He might be starting in last position on the grid. I don't see that he did anything particularly that would have had a penalty prescribed. If he hadn't left the pit lane in time, he'd still be in it. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. There must clearly have been a penalty of some kind, though, to push him a couple of rows back from where he should have started.
Well, we are certainly pretty sure he finished 20th in the first race, so therefore that should have been his starting position ahead of Diego Romanani, but for some reason, I don't know why, we've got no idea why he's gone to the very back of the grid, but obviously I can't see it being a choice of their own. I can only see it being a decision by the steward somewhere along the line to say that that's where they want him to start for whatever reason. But you can see now the grid being cleared, the whistle has been blown, and all the mechanics with their tyre trolleys and their tools and everything else are walking away, and there's one guy left with each car. You can see that there's usually one door open, and with that door being open, it is the one mechanic with the extra spare battery to help start the car again. So that's the one person left on the grid. So we'll just see now. This is the first of the two cars. It goes off around the grid, the safety car to start with, and then there's one car left directly in front of the race car still there, and when he sets off, the rest of the cars will follow him around, and when he pulls into the pits, they will line up again onto the where they are at the moment before we have to start, and then the lights will come on. When the lights go off, we will have a start of the race.
So the spectators ready for an action-packed second race, hopefully. And unfortunately for them, our Mexican contingent in the form of Oscar Hidalgo did not finish the first race. There you can see Alain Menu. Here's Chevy Lachetti starting rather disappointingly down the order as he 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12th position on the grid. But what's under the bonnet of a current spec Super 2000 World Touring Car? Well, a little 3D animation will give us some clues. In common now with every other car on the grid, now that BMW is a 4-cylinder, the Chevrolet Lachetti has a 4-cylinder engine, and All these engines are based on production units. This is actually based on originally the GM Family 2 unit seen in the Cavalier Super Touring cars. 4-cylinder 2-litre engine. It reaches around 280 brake horsepower at its prescribed maximum rev limit of 8,000 RPM. Double overhead cam in the all-alloy engine, and the cam belts also driving the dry sump pump, which is to ensure that there is not oil swilling around all over the place in under acceleration and braking, but that it is evenly supplied to all the moving components in the engine to stop the darn thing seizing up. And things like the valves, the rockers and the camshafts based on but modified from production specifications to take into account the needs of a high revving racing engine rather than a smooth and economical family power unit. So for the RML team, particularly, that engine is like an old friend, David Leslie, because when they were running the Curiacos Cavaliers, that Family 2 engine, which was then the current 1602-litre engine in the Vauxhall Astras and the Vauxhall Cavaliers, is very similar indeed to this Chevrolet Lachetti engine. It's not been modified much for its current installation.
It's a well-known GM engine to the RML team. RML worked with General Motors before on various other projects, and one of them was a rally project with the Astra, and it's identical to the Astra engine that they had at that time. So they started off with the engine builder to help them do that. That was Swindon Race Engines to help do some work on that, and that's moved forward. But RML now getting bigger and progressing as they do as a company, now have their own engine department, and they've employed some people to take over that work, so they can do even yet more work for the Chevrolet marque.
Kind of a shame they didn't bring some of that rallying Astra suspension and tyres with them, actually. couple of sets of Colway M&Ss might not have been out of the question here, because good though the Yokohama slicks are, they don't really deal with mixed loose gravel conditions. I mean, this is more like a stage on Rally Australia than your average racing circuit. As you hear the cars going around on the grid here, towards the grid, you can hear from all the cameras the stones rattling up underneath the cars. That's not stones that's being dragged off onto the racetrack from the side of the circuit. That is the circuit, boys and girls. Tarmac is like cement. It's got lumps in it, and it's held together by gooey stuff, and unfortunately the gooey stuff isn't holding it together here, so the lumps are coming out. These cars may produce just under 300 brake horsepower, but with slick tyres they certainly exert a lot of force on the road, and as they're straggling for grip, they're pulling all the muck out.
And I'm trying to think what happens when they're finished at this meeting here with all these cars, having seen these two races, the second one we're about to watch, that these guys will have made a real mess of the circuit, and there is actually a local championship race to be held after this one on the circuit, and what happens next week and the week after when the rest of the cars arrive to race here, they're going to find a circuit with some very big holes in it, not working terribly well at all, really.
Well, hopefully they've got a couple of quiet weekends. They can resurface it again, because it was the resurfacing on Monday and Tuesday this week that's caused all the problems. I don't think anybody would realistically want to resurface a racetrack the week of a major international event, but unfortunately that is the way it has happened. On board with James Thompson, his bumper cam will give us a great view of proceedings, and Thompson will start from the outside of the second row of the grid. There's our pole sitter, Rickard Rydell, winner in Brands Hatch. Can he win here again, David? He's got Dirtmuller's BMW behind him. Let's compare weights. Dirtmuller with plus 50 kilos of ballast, Rydell with plus 35, but the BMW is a little heavier than the Seat anyway, so effectively it's about a 40 kilo weight difference between the two of them. Despite that, Jörg may, well, it's a short run to the first corner, but he may be ahead by the end of the first lap. We'll have to wait and see how that works.
And we know the C8s now from AOS do, when they get it perfect, they do have a very good starting ability, and they will get off that line. But the BMW knows that it wants to get off. You can see it's lining itself up to try and get through the middle there. You can just see its nose sticking out, so it's about to go through the centre, and that's what we're going to look for when this race starts.
Last few cars coming to line up on the grid. At the very tail, world champion Andy Prio in the midst of an awful weekend here at Puebla in Mexico. Round 12 of the World Touring Car Championship about to get underway live On pole position, on your left, is Rickard Rydell. No green flag being waved at the back of the grid. Now it is. Don't know what the delay was there. Gianni Morbidelli, the red car, on the outside of the front row of the grid. Dirk Muller's BMW and James Thompson's Seat behind them. The revs rise. And away they go. Start from Dirk Muller. He can't get through the gap. Everybody knew he was going for the middle. Rydell cut him off. Morbidelli couldn't. Rydell's trying to hold the inside line. First corner's a left-hander, but Dirk Muller's got a good run on him. He can't get by there. And now they all try and funnel through on this very narrow racing line. They've just re-swept the surface, so maybe lap one might not be too bad. But thereafter, there is going to be gravel and marbles all over the place. On board with Gianni Morbidelli in third place, hustling. James Thompson in fourth. Tom Coronel's orange and black car started fifth ahead of Ryan Sharp's Honda Accord. Let's see where they are. On board with Dirk Muller, second place, but Rydell is starting to clear off.
And we've got Thompson now up into fourth place, but right behind him is one of the Alfa Romeos, and I think it's Farfus who's in that car.
Well, Morbidelli is right there, chasing the leaders, and Pierre-Yves Courtals has had a big punt from behind, and that may well have been from, Ivan Muller, Larini, Cressoni, one of those guys behind him, on board in the 16 car. This is Gianni Morbidelli, second gear, second place. So he's got ahead of Dirk Muller. That's a very important move for Morbidelli. Now, could Morbidelli win his first race? Could we have two first-time winners here, both in Alfa Romeos? It's not beyond the bounds of possibility, because David, after the first couple of corners in lap one, it looks like Jörg Muller is going backwards, and the Chevrolets are forcing their way forwards quite noticeably, actually.
Yeah, the Chevrolets usually do very well in the second race of the weekend, and it's always their best race when they start to score some points. But up front now we've got Rydell with Morbidelli. We see the camera from inside. He's really hanging in there. Next up is Dirk Muller.
So Rydell, Morbidelli, Dirk Muller, James Thompson in fourth place, the other Seat, then the Alfa Romeo of Augusto Farfus in fifth, who was second in race one, don't forget. So that's a very good start. He's up to fourth. Farfus is now fourth ahead of James Thompson.
It's Tavano. It's Tavano. I see the Italian flag at the top.
Is it the Italian flag or the Brazilian flag? I thought it was the Brazilian. It is. No, it's the Brazilian flag. It is a Brazilian flag. And he's looking inside Dirk Muller. Now, could we get another Alfa Romeo 1-2 with Farfus being second in both? There's a lot of possibilities in this race. Farfus is up to third. What's he had for breakfast or possibly lunch? Augusto Farfus electrifying here. Rydell, Morbidelli, Farfus, then Dirk Muller, then James Thompson. So Muller is sliding down the order almost as rapidly as Andy Prio did in the first race. Ryan Sharp down to seventh. He's been sandbagged, he's been mugged by a bunch of Seats. That's what's happened to him. Still Rickard Rydell, best Seat. He leads. Alfa's second and third. And then the second of the Seats is James Thompson with the orange and black car of Tom Coronel. In fact, you know, he's
right behind Coronel is Ryan Sharp, and he's right behind that's another
Tavano right behind Ryan Sharp. So not a lot has changed in the lead order, except that Farfus has gone from seventh to third, and Dirk Muller has gone from third to fourth.
And you can see just the cars as they come out of the corners, that if the minute they touch the loose stuff, they just step out. And you've seen Dirk Muller's BMW just step out of line a little bit. And don't forget, right behind is Thompson, whose bumper cam we're looking at now, who's looking at the possibility of trying to get past that BMW.
Farfus looking for second from Morbidelli, can't get it. And I tell you what, Morbidelli's going to be hard to pass if he thinks there's a sniff of a win. Farfus might find himself bridesmaiding an Alfa Romeo 1-2 yet. But Rydell, again, David, he's not renowned, I think it's fair to say, for giving wins away easily. Rickard Rydell, is he?
No, Rydell is very hard at driving. Once he's in front, it's going to be very, very difficult indeed to get past. And he's not the sort of person that will make a simple mistake in getting that car offline to be allowed one of these Alfa Romeos to get past him. So he will push very hard indeed. He's been through the hard school, the British Touring Car Championship, and he knows exactly what it takes to win races. He's won many races in touring cars.
How scary is this? The onboard camera shots are actually worse than watching it from the outside, and that is, oh, who else is there? Ivan Muller and Alex Zanardi, and there'll be a safety car out. Well, Muller's car looks like it's moving. That is as they come onto the banking, off the banking for the first time around turn 7, I think. Or maybe turn 5 where they come onto it. This is on the back banking, yeah, no, that's turn 7 behind. It's a turn 5 where they rejoin, well, Speedway, between Speedway turns 1 and 2 on the old oval circuit here. Well, Augusto Farfus in third place, pushing Morbidelli to stay in touch with Rickard Rydell. And the Swede is going to be determined to hang on here, and he will be really disappointed to see the safety car. Actually, not that it's going to make much difference to his lead gap, which is about a nanometer anyway. But fourth place there, Dirk Muller. And in fact, look at this, Morbidelli looking to have a go. He's really closing through the banking onto the straight. Here he comes. Morbidelli with a hell of a run. He's around the outside of Rickard Rydell. And if they don't see the safety car boards, and they won't, Morbidelli is making the pass. He's down the inside. He's done him. And cutting back inside is Augusto Farfus. Well, of course, Morbidelli, no wins, very little success ballast on board at all, only 25 kilos. Rydell with 35, it's only 10 kilos. That's good stuff. Again, the Alfa Romeo's looking strong here, but Morbidelli has the lead, and still no safety car. Now, they're coming up out of turn 5 now, so it looks like that little embouteillage between Alex Zanardi and Ivan Muller has sorted itself, and being pushed along in second place is Rydell, literally being pushed out of the corner there by Augusto Farfus. Farfus wants by, and he's trying to go around the outside.
And these Alfa Romeos are really on song. I don't know what they've got done to them second half of this season. We do know they got a break of 10 kilos off their overall weight, which helped them a little bit, but 10 kilos is a small amount, and it's not the sort of amount that's suddenly given them the speed that they've got here, because they've suddenly gained, you know, quite a lot of speed. But you've got the first one now, Morbidelli going away, Rydell really holding up, and Farfus, Muller, Thompson, Cornell, Sharp, all in behind there.
Yeah, and everybody, I mean, in fact, Ryan Sharp has shaken off the Seat behind him that I think was Turting, possibly Tarquini in there somewhere. But yeah, Rydell is the stopper, isn't he? He's not the leader. He is the one holding everybody else up. Dirk Muller is looking for a piece of the lead here as well, or to get up into second. But he's being tapped from behind by Thompson. Thompson's got a good run going on Muller. We're on board with Thompson's bumper cam. There you can see in front, Farfus is getting a very good run as well. He's towing up behind Rydell's Seat. Now, maybe this is one of the factors of the Seat body shell, that bluff hatchback back. Does it give away a bigger tow? Do they create a bigger hole in the air? I don't know, but Farfus has certainly gone down the inside. It's an Alpha 1-2, and again, Farfus is doing the following, but he's got 12 more laps to sort that out. So, and who was that going off there? Ryan Sharp?
Sharp gone really wide at that point. He just got his braking wrong, and he's lost a lot of time. He was right behind Cornell. Now he's still behind him, but dropped back a long way.
Riding on board with Dirk Muller, still in fourth. And there is Ivan Muller, of course, in the Seat. Too many Mullers, 3 going at the moment. Let's hope we don't get any more joining the championship. That'd just be starting to get, frankly, a little silly. And so he did continue, but he's obviously out of the race. Haven't seen where Alex Zanardi ended up, but you anticipate perhaps that might be in the pit lane as well. 1-2 for Alfa Romeo. Then in race 1, Salvatore Tavano won it from Augusto Farfus Jr. Now Gianni Morbidelli has his turn to lead Augusto Farfus Jr. Rydell still holding up Dirk Muller, and there is Zanardi. Well, he's behind the barriers, he's out of the car saluting the crowd, so his race over as well in that tangle with Ivan. So Ivan and Alex both out of luck and out of the points here.
And now you've got Morbidelli leading with Farfus, who really was on a charge in the first race, came through, and he's now got himself a bit of space where he can try and close down his teammate and see if he can get past his teammate. He couldn't get past his teammate in the first race, Tavano, but see what he can do with Gianni Morbidelli in the second race.
Well, you know, I'm not sure exactly that Gianni Morbidelli will want to be giving it away any more than Salvatore Tavano did either. I think, I don't know. You see, now they've made a rod for their own backs. Mauro Sips didn't force Tavano to slow down for Farfus, so he's going to be pretty hard-pressed to ask ex-Formula 1 driver Gianni Morbidelli to slow down for Farfus, points or no points. Dirk Muller, isn't it funny how normally only one BMW really seems to be on the boil, and so often it's been Prio. This week weekend, it just seems to be Dirk Muller. Jörg Muller completely off the case, and in race 1, Prio having a nightmare. Race 2, he seems to be creeping further back up the order. There was a group of BMWs a little further back, and I'm sure he was in that, but still really nowhere near where he needs to be for points.
Just looking at the names that are coming through, rolling on what positions they're on, we were a bit wrong on the Honda. In 9th place is actually Pierre Cortels, who's there, because we've seen one of the Hondas early on with a big ding in the back and the wheel and the smoke coming off it, and that looks as though that was Ryan Sharp, and actually fact, so he's probably retired into the garage area. We've seen lots of smoke coming off one of the Hondas, and certainly in 9th place at the moment, behind Peter Turting, is Cortels with his Honda.
Well, that might explain what's happened to Salvatore Tavano's Alfa Romeo then,
because he's gone missing as well.
And he was a row behind Ryan Sharp, and I'm very keen on this, putting 2 and 2 together and making 4 3/4, but you never can tell. So top independent then in this race is Tom Coronel, so he's in line for a whacking great trophy, half his own height, and certainly a lot bigger than his newly born baby daughter. I don't know what 3.7 kilos is. Is that a big baby or a little baby?
It's big enough.
Yeah. Anything at 1 kilo is big enough when you have to sort of produce it the way the babies are producing in, I think, in any man's mind. So Alfa Romeo wants it, and they're just romping away, aren't they? Rydell is not so much now. I think the only bloke he's actually holding up is the man we're riding with now, Dirk Muller, and Dirk Muller will get by him, I think.
And Rydell certainly seems to be slow down the straight, because that's where he lost the last couple of positions, in actual fact, to the Alfa Romeos, and he's known that, he's realised that now. So when he came onto the straight, it really did block very hard right over to the left hand side of that straight to try and keep the BMW behind. But they see in 9th place Cortels was, so that's where that Honda is. But here's the Dirk Muller. He's still scoring good points in 4th place, but obviously not as good as what Rydell is. But behind him in 5th place is Thompson. Now Thompson's leading the championship and scoring more points.
Yep, so we came here with the British Championship leader, and we look likely to leave here perhaps for the British Championship leader. David will do the arithmetic later. But on the other hand, Farfus, hello, this race last year, a very good race weekend indeed for Fabrizio Giovanardi. What did he score? 16 points. He had a win and a 3rd place, and Farfus is on target to match that as well and really electrify his championship season.
If he carries on like his, he'll end up probably 2nd or 3rd in the championship at the end of this weekend. So Farfus really, you know, having a good result makes a big difference. But when he comes away from this race in Mexico, he's going to have a pile of weight added to that car before he gets to the next race in Brno in the Czech Republic. So you know, when you do really well, it's fantastic, you score good points. But the equalisation process they have for this championship, where they add weight on you, A, for your finishing position, and B, for your championship position, that slows you down a little bit for the next race. Now then, that's obviously what happened to Andy Prio, who came in leading the championship into this meeting, and he's been absolutely nowhere, finishing 20th the first race, starting last on the grid for this race, so we've got no idea where he is at the moment. He's just somewhere behind, certainly not in a point scoring position, so he's going to walk away a bit disappointed from this weekend. But he will be a lot lighter because he's not done so well in this race. He will lose a lot of that weight before he gets to the next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely right, and some of the others will be a little heavier as well.
Just with Genet is in 10th place for the Seat. So running through it, we've got Morbidelli, Farfus, Rydell, Muller, Thompson, Cornell, first of the independents, Tarquini and Turting with the 2 Seats, Cortels in 9th place with a Honda, and Genet in 10th place with a Seat. So the Seats are all up there. Seats, certainly as far as manufacturers are going, still scoring very good points, and up there in 4th place is Dirk Muller for BMW. So we can think that Seat may walk away with a small lead at the end of today in the manufacturers' points.
Yes, I think that's very likely. In fact, an enlarged lead, won't it be? But in the back of the shot occasionally you see 3 BMWs, and that is Heisman, Prio and Stefano D'Aste. The Pro Team Motorsport car is the white and blue one at the back, and Prio in 12th place at the moment, but David's still a long way from the points. He needs a big accident or some major retirements to help him, because on pace he's not getting there. But look at that, Tom Coronel eases his way past James Thompson, and that's important for Prio as well. Anything that takes points away from his rivals, and let's face it, Coronel isn't one of his rivals, but he's taking extra points away. Oh, and a mistake by Dirk Muller. Coronel's finding a podium, falling into his lap nearly.
Suddenly he's got 2 places. One well well thought out of and one handed to him to play it when Dirk Muller made a mistake. We did say it every time now, because of the circuit breaking up, because of tarmac problems, if you just get your car half a car's width out of
lead
Farfus'
change.
lead.
We didn't see it, but it's happened. Augusto Farfus leads.
And it could have been exactly the same thing. Morbidelli may have made the same mistake as what Muller did.
Dirk, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, by goes the next place guy behind, because you just lose so much time once you get offline. You really have only one line, and it's very, very difficult to get past. Down the straight seems to be the best place at the end of the straight.
Yeah, as long as you can avoid rally crossing too much halfway round. Tom Coronel, the independent Seat driver for GR Asia, fourth in the first race, second in the Independence Trophy, fourth in race 2, ditch hooking deeply on the inside. But that's the way to do it. If you're going to go on the loose stuff, deliberately aim inside the curb, and at least then when you run off wide a little, you're going to be back on the racetrack. Ricard Rydell in third place still. But you know, I have to say, there is every danger that Coronel will be the top Seat at home again. Augusto Farfus then has taken the lead. The cameras didn't see it from Gianni Morbidelli, but we saw that it had happened, and in fact he's pulled away very quickly from Morbidelli, and it does seem as though Morbidelli must have made a big mistake or really lifted off in a big way, and I don't think that the latter explanation is likely. Morbidelli perhaps just overcooking it onto the gravel, and it can't be exaggerated too much or stated too much, I don't think, as Dirk Muller tries to get back inside Coronel. Road goes left again for Tom. This is all left, then right, then left, then right. You don't get too eat my dust, it says on the back of Coronel's car, in brackets, and gravel. I think probably ought to be added to that. But yeah, that's a nice little motto there. So Farfus leads then by, what, 1.5 seconds and a bit more from Gianni Morbidelli. Third, Ricard Rydell, but the pack are closing, Ricard. Keep an eye on Coronel in your mirrors, because he's being hurried up by Dirk Muller, and Dirk perhaps might fancy a bit of a third place charge here as well. He's got, what, 5 laps after this to do it. I suppose it might just be doable. All it needs is one big mistake, the sort that gave away his 4th place to Coronel from Rydell, and suddenly these guys will both be on him. Well, up to 11th place now, Andy Priaulx, so he's got ahead of Duncan Heisman. But still, he needs to move up 3 more positions even to get a single point. And as Dirk Muller knows, every single point is going to be critical. Muller's lost the championship to Priaulx in the last 2 years. The 2 years before that, Jörg Muller lost the championship to Fabrizio Giovanardi and to Gabriele Tarquini. So between them, the Schnitzer drivers know all about how important points are when you get to the last race of the year. And that means they are important from race 1 right the way through to race 20. There's no race where you can afford to give away a point in this championship.
And even when the races are as difficult as this, and when you've got, you know, such difficult conditions out there with the circuit, etc., you've really got to hang in there, make no mistakes. But you can see Tom Coronel really starting to ease away just a little bit, and he's got his sights set on that Seat in front, the one belonging to Rick Rydell, and you know, he'll want to get his independent car in front of that if he can possibly. What the Seat boss will say down the road to the GR Asia guy, Paul, I'm not sure what he's going to say, whether he says, we like what you're doing, but please sit behind our works car. Whether that will happen or not before the end of this race. There's still some 11 laps to go.
Well, I think the GR Asia boys will be entirely within their rights to say, yes, I can see exactly what you're saying, but come and talk to us after the checkered flag. We've got a race to win here. So now then, another Seat moves up. Peter Terting just squeezes in front of Pierre-Yves Courtal, so he moves into the points. That's important for Terting now, 8th place for him. But look at Priaulx now, not 11th, he's ahead of Genet, so he's now in 10th place, 2 from the points. Pierre-Yves Courtal's in front of him, and Peter Terting, and they're not so far away that a point is out of the question. And as you said, David, again and again and again we say this, you must not give up.
You've just got to keep on going, because points are ever so important. And if somebody has a puncture or something goes wrong, an engine blows up, a gearbox malfunctions or whatever happens, and one of the top 8 guys suddenly stop, you've really got to be there to try and take that position away. And Andy Priaulx, whatever was wrong in the first race, they've managed to fix it, because certainly he's flying now and he's putting in a really storming performance. He's only like 1.5 seconds away from 10th place, from Georges Genet. and if he can catch an ear and get past there, then he's only got the Honda in front to get past before he starts to look at points.
The gap from Rydell in third to Coronel in fourth has halved in the last 4 laps. Coronel is closing all the time. Is time against him? 11 of the 16 laps completed. So on at the end of this one, there will be 4 more laps, and in that time, if they continue with their current pace, he will comfortably catch Ricard, and with a lap or 2 to spare. So Rydell may need to be really on the defensive on the last couple of laps around here, because Coronel is now about equidistant between Rydell in front of him in third place and Dirk Muller behind him in 5th position. So he'll be all about Rydell and not worrying too much about what Dirk Muller's doing, because from where he is, Muller's going to have to be random in the extreme and really reckless to try and even get close to moving alongside the orange and black Seat. But yellow flags are out in front, so somebody's had a bit of an off here. Let's see if... somebody right on the inside of the corner there. Couldn't quite see who that was. It had a sort of a bit of a look of a Yasport car about it, but I wouldn't want to be certain. It was such a fleeting glimpse.
During that lap we didn't see it, but Cortels with a Honda, the Yasport Honda managed to get in front of Terting. So
he's got back
himself up in front of Terting, so that's another position gain for the Honda over the top of the Seat.
Excellent. So Cortal's recovery continues. Oh, Dirk Muller's slowing right down, and that is not wheel spin on the gravel, surely. Now, is Coronel slow right down? Some of these corners are so slow, David. It really looks dramatic, doesn't it? But
they just cannot get the grip out of the corner because of the stones and such. Like, you just get that car, as we said so many times, a little bit off centre, and you get yourself onto that gravel. You just so much time is lost, and then all of a sudden now that Dirk Muller's got Thompson now right up behind him again, and given Cornell a little bit of a breathing space to try and concentrate on Rydell in front. Rydell seems to have got a second wind and pulling away a little bit again.
Well, I think it wasn't
these three to battle behind for 4th, 5th and 6th.
Yeah, I don't think it was a trick of the light. As Dirk was sitting there spinning his wheels out of the corner, I think Tom was spinning his wheels out of the next corner as well, and I think that's why Ricard Rydell has eased away. I think both the pursuing drivers have had a problem. 2.9 now the advantage for Farfus. Rydell, Coronel and Muller, that is the battle with Thompson behind them, but it is Rydell, Coronel and Muller. That's the battle for the final podium position. And Coronel losing ground on Ricard Rydell. He's now 2 seconds behind the 3rd place man. Andy Priaulx in 10th place. 8th place is the last points garnering position in this championship. Augusto Farfus on target for a big scoring weekend here. 10 points in the bag for him if he can just keep it on the island for the remaining 3 laps. After 2nd place in race 1, that's a big weekend. And there is Salvatore Tavano, our race 1 winner, so he is out of action, and that perhaps maybe he did have contact with the back of Ryan Sharp's Honda in the run-up to the first corner. They started 8th and 6th on the grid after being 1st and 3rd in race 1. And neither of them seem to be featuring anymore. Farfus's car is really moving around an awful lot, David, but he's just coping with it very well indeed.
He is. He's thoroughly enjoying the conditions out there and making the most of it. Just as you said, it's like he's got a lightweight car, a sort of toy that he can throw around from corner to corner, keeping it within that line that you need to keeping it off the gravel and everything else, and just moving forward. And he really is turning in, some very good times compared to everybody else. He seems to be the Alfa Romeos this weekend. Very much in a class of their own, a class that we've seen them in before. Usually when they're racing in Italy at either Monza or Imola, when they really show up front. But Tom Cornell goes
smoking heavily.
That's not good for Tom, and he's still in 4th place.
Now I wonder if that's something dragging. No, it's not. You can see underneath the car because it's pretty bumpy here, and that might just have been an exhaust system dragging or something, but it didn't look like so much like exhaust smoke though. Something else rubbing, maybe a tyre rubbing, with all the muck that these cars are picking up. Don't forget, it's not just dry stones. This is aggregate. This is the stuff that they spread on the road to set, hopefully, and then make the tarmac. It may be that Coronel has either got a punctured radiator or he's just got a great big lump of tarmac rubbing away at something inside the wheel arch. It may be in the way that rally cars fill up. it may be just full up with gravel.
We keep looking at it to see if you see it's coming from the rear.
It's not engine oil, it's not oil smoke.
It's certainly
it's the left rear corner, isn't it?
Left rear corner, and that would be maybe a bump has been pushed up against a tyre or something, and that's the problem that's there.
Eyes on the mirrors there, aren't they? No question. You see what was going on there. Yes, you're right, it may well have been that he's had a little rub from behind. No major damage, but there doesn't need to be, just to shift that rear bumper up into the wheel. The wheel arches very close to the wheels. Of course, these cars using much bigger rolling radius wheels and tyres than the road car, and he runs out a little wide. So there is something maybe with that left rear quarter. It all sounds fine and healthy, but he runs out a little wide, and Dirk Muller moves up to 4th place. Vital for Muller. Actually, in terms of the Independence Trophy, it doesn't matter a whit to Tom Coronel, but, you know, you'd still like to finish 4th rather than 5th. It's always better to be further up towards the front. Still, however, of course, best of those Spanish cars is Ricard Rydell out front in 3rd place. And Tom Coronel 5th now, with James Thompson closing in and maybe smelling, well, tyre smoke and an extra position now.
Ooh. I think that's exactly what's happening there. He's looking to try and take another position away as James Thompson. But further back now in 8th place, we've got Jordi Genet, in 9th place, Andy Prio. So Andy's only 1 position away from scoring a point. Ooh, and that looks like a very bad car.
That's a Pro Team BMW, and I think only Stefano D'Aste started the second race for Pro Team, so that would seem to be him out of it. So that it was definitely a Pro Team BMW. As Coronel rather is looking more and more likely, I think, to become a victim to Thompson.
Yeah, down the inside.
Down the inside goes Tomo.
Inside line, and Tom looks very sick indeed. That car doesn't look right at all. He's certainly losing lots and lots of time, but he hasn't got long to go before the end of this race. He really needs to try and hang on, but somebody else in the background has gone off.
Lots and lots
of dust. More yellow flags being waved somewhere in the background, so maybe on this last lap there's going to be lots and lots of yellow flags around.
Well, Coronel needs to survive one more lap after this one, because the leader is just coming out of the final speedway corner, turn 16, to start his last lap. There is Augusto Farfus, the Brazilian, who looks certain to add a victory here to second in race 1, and that's cursed him for good, hasn't it? But Coronel needs to hang on for one more lap, because Pierre-Yves Courtals, the second independent, is a long way back. So Coronel just needs to keep the thing running, and he should still win the Independence Trophy. So last lap then, Farfus, Morbidelli, another Alfa Romeo 1-2. Rydell on the podium, perhaps in 3rd. Dirk Muller 4th. Good points for both those championship challengers. And we certainly have to consider Augusto Farfus as a definite championship contender now. Not could have been a contender, is a contender. Thompson a contender. Prio 8th. Prio 8th place ahead of Jordi Genet. Very, very important move there for Andy Prio to come away with at least a single point. Certainly nothing like what he would have hoped for. 8th in race 1 was the plan, but 8th in race 2 has got to be better than 9th, 10th, 12th, 20th, or whatever else it could have been. So Augusta, yeah, David's already starting the mental arithmetic, because this is going to be very, very much tighter championship than when we set away after Manicourt and after Brands Hatch and after Oschersleben to come to the flyaway races. Brazil and Mexico have really served to concertina up the championship by having drivers that had fared well earlier on not doing so well because of a lot of extra ballast, and drivers who had not had some great results really pushing strongly up into the lead group, and Augusto Farfus prime among those. And is it history repeating itself? 16 points last year in Mexico alone for his then teammate Fabrizio Giovanardi, and this year it looks as though Farfus will get that big points haul for himself. Second in race 1 and victory in race 2. N-Technology claim a pair of 1-2 victories with no drivers in the same position. Second and first for Augusto Farfus, a first win for Salvatore Tavano, and a bit of a shame really that Gianni Morbidelli couldn't be the man that takes the win. Third for Ricard Rydell, 4th for the best BMW, Dirk Muller. 5th position, Sixth at the line, just Tom Coronel holding off Andy Prio for sixth. Prio really gunning it there for points for sixth, but in the end he gets 7th place. James Thompson was in 5th, and 8th place, 9th. So yes, 10th was Pierre-Yves Courtals, and that does mean that again the Independence Trophy winner is Tom Coronel. But some great last few lap incidents there going on.
And it's just made the championship even closer still, because you've now got James Thompson, according to my reckoning, but we'll find out in a minute or two what he actually says, on 49 points. And then 46 points equal, you've got Augusto Farfus and Andy Prio. So now you've got 3 manufacturers in the top 3 positions.
And I don't think that fact is lost on Farfus's engineers either. The Brazilians' crew are leaping up and down like maniacs. Brazil might not have helped him much. Curitiba might not have been a great race weekend, but Mexico certainly has been for Augusto Farfus. Big result as well for Gianni Morbidelli. 2nd position as well. He's still the bridesmaid, yet to claim that first World Touring Car Championship win. But for half the race, he looked as though he could have had it. You do suspect that the way that Farfus went by from not quite being in a position to challenge, it was just straightforward car gravel interface for Gianni Morbidelli that cost him that race win, rather than being asked to pull over, because Salvatore Tavano wasn't asked to pull over and he was not a championship contender in race 1. So Farfus, a very strong result for him. And most, if not all, of our championship contenders, Ivan Muller, the only one really there of the cadre of potential champions that didn't score a point in this second race.
And he's still on 33 points now. He's not done terribly well. He didn't score any points in Brazil. He hasn't scored any points in Mexico. And he only scored 1 point in Germany at the meeting before, did Ivan Muller. So all his points been scored in the first 3 races, and now all of a sudden he's slipping down the field quite quickly. But the field's still very, very close indeed. And as you've seen what happened to Augusto Farfus, he came here well down. He was in 9th place in the championship. He's going to go away 2nd equal in the championship when he leaves here the flyaways in Mexico.
So still with 8 races remaining, Brno, Istanbul, Valencia and Macau, anything could yet happen. Italian flags, Brazilian flags. It's been a very impressive weekend for N Technology and for Augusto Farfus. 2nd in race 1, victory in race 2. Loving that. We'll be back to find out just how much they loved it in a moment or two. Stay with us. Gianni Morbidelli 2nd here in round 12 of the World Touring Car Championship at Puebla in Mexico. He started with the lead of the race from pole position, from the outside the front row of the grid, beg your pardon, and halfway through Augusto Farfus got in front of him to claim victory. Ricard Rydell, the pole sitter, 3rd. He set out not quick in the opening stages of the race. Dirk Muller up to 4th, but the star of the race, I think perhaps Andy Prio, 22nd to 7th. Okay, incidents, accidents and spins, but hello, everybody was on the same gravel track that Andy Prio managed to pick up 15 places on. So a very impressive run from absolutely stone last for reasons we do not know what they were on the grid into 7th position. That does sound perhaps like a man feeling slightly aggrieved with his dander up, but also entirely possible they made some settings before the race that didn't work, and to change them in the 15-minute period between the 2 races. James Thompson, our race leader, David's maths as ever spot on. Prio and Farfus joint behind him, 3 places adrift, 3 points adrift, but still very tight. And you know, anybody, well, almost even down to Alain Menu. I mean, if things went sparklingly well, certainly down to Jörg Muller on 30 points, anybody really still in that top 9 or 10 drivers could have the run of their career and still win this championship.
And that's what all the drivers say when you do the interviews with them. They just say that, you know, at any meeting it can turn around very quickly. What you have to do is score good points at every race meeting, and not every driver is. Most of the drivers somewhere along the line have had a meeting where either they've scored only 1 point or no points and had very poor scores. So you really need to be out there scoring points all the time. Very, very difficult when you've got 15 possible race winners in such a close championship as this one is.
19 15 points cover the top 9 drivers down to Jörg Müller, and there are 20 points on offer at each of the next 4 race weekends. 80 points on offer in maximum, and 19 cover the top 9 drivers, so it is wide open. Let's take a little look at the highlights of round 12 of the championship then. Gianni Morbidelli and Ricard Rydell starting on pole in the reversed top 8 grid, with our first race winner Salvatore Tavano 8th, and the man who finished the Alfa Romeo 1-2 in 2nd place, Augusto Farfus, in 7th. But it wasn't long before Rydell's susceptibility at the front of the field was found out by the Alfa Romeo drivers. Ivan Muller and Alex Zanardi both out in the early going, and soon the Alfa Romeos were all over the Seats. Rydell fought back, but it was to no avail. The Seats got through, and then the gap behind was closed by Dirk Muller and the rest. They got by Rydell momentarily, but after that he managed to keep himself in front. Tom Coronel got ahead of Dirk Muller, only to drop back, but from 22nd and last on the grid, Andy Priaulx was rising like a meteor through the field, carving his way through unseen by the watching traffic cameras rather, but certainly hopefully by the crowd, to finish in 7th position and in the points. But in the end, another Alfa Romeo 1-2, this time with Augusto Farfus on top, adding his 2nd place points from race 1 to victory in race 2. An enormously impressive race weekend, 18 points from a race weekend. David Leslie, that is a big result in anybody's book.
It is. You can only go one better and have 2 wins, and it's not very often you see 2 wins from one driver in this championship because of the reverse grids and because of the weights that they have to carry. So to get 18 points, you have to say that Augusto Farfus, who's now the lead driver of that Alfa Romeo team, really is doing an exceptional job this weekend in Mexico.
Augusto Farfus, what a great weekend, but also a great summer, because you did also very well in Curitiba.
Yes, it's a dream for me. I don't want to wake up, because today was something amazing. Our job, our team, Alfa Romeo here especially, was had a fantastic car. In technology, did a really good job, and now I'm 2nd championship, so better than this I think is impossible.
And this 2nd race, starting at the 7th place, ending winning, how could it be possible?
I did a very well, a very good start, and then at the first corner I think I was 4th. So then I just managed to overtake the guys in front of me. Our car, we knew from the first race that was much faster than the other. So I just managed to overtake Thompson, Rydell and Gianni. So I have just to say thanks to everybody else, to Gianni. We did a very good team job. So now I have to thank for Bernot.
Thank you.
Aha, so Gianni Morbidelli did pull over to allow Augusto Farfus to take the win. And Farfus in the last 2 race weekends, 14 points in Brazil, 18 points in Mexico, 32 of his 46 points in the championship have come in the last 2 race weekends. And don't forget, as I said, 19 points cover the top 9 drivers in the championship. It only takes one of them to have a meteoric rise, and everything could change. Here's Gianni Morbidelli.
Gianni Morbidelli, a great weekend for Alfa. Is there a technical explanation to this success, double 1-2 in both races?
Well, just a good job from the team. They did a fantastic car for our 3 drivers. I had a very bad qualifying, so my first race was really hard. I had a big fight between me and there was a big fight between me and many drivers, especially with the Terting and the Priaulx. Fortunately finished 7th, and that was a good result, because gave me a possibility to start in the first row in the 2nd race. And I think in the 2nd race Augusto was really fast. We had I can say a team job to do, to respect for the championship, and I can say that is a fantastic weekend again for me.
This weekend Alfa Romeo has 10 kilograms less on the car. Was it really a key factor for this race?
Absolutely no, because from Curitiba I had 25 kilos more. Then it's not because that 10 kilos less our result, but just because we had a fantastic car. This is we must be clear and say to the team that they did a really good job from the mechanics, engineering, and everything, everybody.
And now it's clear that all Alfa Romeo and both Morbidelli, so yourself and Tavano, are working for Augusto Farfus for the championship?
Yeah, we will see. We hope to have another weekend like this in the future. Of course, we're working for that, and I think we can do, because our car is good. It's much better now than in the beginning of the season. That means that we worked very well, and we hope to improve a little bit more, just for be fast like this for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So Gianni Morbidelli certainly in race 2 helping Augusto Farfus, but he could have had 20 points from this race weekend if Salvatore Tavano had pulled over and let him by, which would have been a phenomenal result. Ricard Rydell for Seat, third in race 12 of the series.
Ricard Rydell, this weekend could have been fantastic for you. In the end, it's third place. Does it make you happy, or it's not enough?
Well, everyone could see that the Alfa was very, very quick here in both races, so I guess there was not that much to do. I was very pleased with qualifying. I managed to get a really, really good lap in, and I was on pole, and my next teammate was in 6th position, so the car was really, really good for qualifying. But in the race, of course, I was happy in the first race finishing 8th, because that meant I had pole position at least in the second race. Very, very hard fight with Gianni in the beginning, and I had to let him go, and the Farfus was so much quicker coming from 7th position, so for me it was a little bit of a safe driving, finishing third, but I'm quite pleased with 7 points from this weekend.
So the Alfa drivers have said that now they will work for Farfus. What about team orders in Seat? Are you working for Thompson or still yourself, or all equal?
No, I think it's still very, very open. It's very, very close. I think I haven't looked at the table, but I think we are 3-4 Seats very, very close in the championship. Of course, we need to work together, and I think it's very, very important for the manufacturer championship as well. So we have to think about that. So it's both the manufacturer championship and the drivers championship, and I must say that Seat so far has done a really, really good job. We have a very good car, and I'm sure at Brno, the next race in Czechia, the car will be great.
Thank you, and enjoy the podium.
Thanks.
Well, clearly the two flyaway races, Brazil and Mexico, racetracks that very much suited Alfa Romeo, but Brno is a very different track, very different nature, so we'll have to wait and see in the beginning of September who comes out on top there. We'll be back with more. Stay with us. Welcome back to Puebla in Mexico, a race that has seen, or a pair of races, David Leslie, that have seen not only Seat ease ahead of BMW noticeably now in the manufacturer's points. There's a massive 9 points between them, but also Alfa Romeo really start to accelerate away from Chevrolet. But the Drivers' Championship has basically had everybody thrown up in the air, and they've all landed in a completely different order.
They're all there, they're still there. Augusto Farfus has come from 9th up to second, equal in the championship, but those top 9 are still there. They're all mixed up. They're still very, very close together. And as we've seen from this weekend, you know, one good point scoring meeting will give you that big boost to go from wherever you are all of a sudden right to the top of the championship. So all the way to the end of the championship, all the way through to Brno, Istanbul, Spain and Macau, it's going to be very, very close indeed.
Well, the Seat team saluting Ricard Rydell, and in response to the question about whether anybody in Seat is going to be asked to support anybody else, I think there are so many Seat drivers with at least a really good shot at the title that there will be no chance of that happening, probably even up until the stage we get to Macau. I can't believe there'll be just one Seat driver with a mathematical chance of the title even in Macau. Gianni Morbidelli takes second place, still looking for his first win, but ay caramba for for Augusto Farfus. It really should be a sombrero. Now I could understand why Richard Westbrook in Hockenheim had sombreros on his friends there. I don't know, when he won the Super Cup title, but could easily be a sombrero there for the Brazilian. And there is Tom Coronel, who wins the Independence Trophy here. Fourth in race 1 and second in Independence. He was fourth in race 2 until the last couple of laps, and wins the Independence Trophy nonetheless. So a very happy couple of weekends for the new daddy. Look, quite the mariachi band version of the Brazilian national anthem. I'm sure I've never heard it played on a squeeze box before. Whatever Augusto Farfus, it will sound very sweet for him. 18 points this weekend, 14 points in Brazil, and that has just rocketed him into serious title contention. And even Gianni Morbidelli has perhaps a chance. 22 points now to 49 of the championship leader, 27 points adrift. Well, 32 points have been scored in the last two race weekends by the man who stands one step above him. So I think Morbidelli must perhaps fancy a little bit of a chance of getting into the fray as well. Let's face it, as the season continues, the most successful drivers will continue to race laden down with weight, David Leslie. So Bruno, BMW circuit, Chevrolet circuit, there's got to be one somewhere, who knows?
I think BMW will very much want to fight back. They've certainly taken a bit of a hammering for the last two meetings, and they'll want to be up there and leading.
Bruno then, the first weekend in September, Saturday and Sunday, live on Eurosport from David Leslie and me, Martin Haven. Till then, bye for now.